You should be making more money. In fact, your income is the greatest source of wealth building, especially when you're younger, that you can be growing and working towards to set you and your family up for future success. And so it's really important to think about how you can grow your income or how you can ask for a raise. And that's what this video is about. You don't want to screw this up. There's plenty of wrong ways to do this. I actually had 20 employees at one point, and so I know quite a bit about salary negotiation. I want to share the things I've learned and how I would coach you on how to ask your boss for more money. Let's go. We'll talk about this together. Hey, well, thank you for tuning in to Joshua Talks Money. Here I share all things personal finance, the lessons that I've learned and the ones I'm still learning after I built and sold my tech company. And now I really focus on investing. I hope to pass these lessons on to you. And if that sounds interesting, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's free. It takes 2 seconds. It helps tremendously. And it also signs you up to get content like this every single week. Okay, so you want to ask for a raise. The first thing you must do is start to build a plan on how to approach this. You don't want to knock on your boss's door and just say, hey dude, I need more money. That's not going to work. You have to start with what I would call building the case. Now this takes time. This is something you must start on well before you ever ask for more money. This is something you do on your own. This is something you do often without appreciation or acknowledgement. This is the time where you work on additional projects and put in the extra effort so when you do ask for more money, there's evidence that you deserve it. And I like to think about this similar to when someone's not performing well, right? So usually management starts to put together the case. They have documentation, they have conversations where they're talking about ways that they are wanting someone to improve. And what they're really trying to do is get this batch of evidence that this person must be let go. You're trying to do that in the opposite direction. You're building the case that you deserve more responsibility and with that, more compensation. Next up, you're going to want to visualize the future. Your boss is a busy person. They may not necessarily have a clear track of where you professionally might start growing into. They also know that they have tons of problems, tons of things that might be going wrong in the business, and they may not think that you are the person that could solve them. And so what you have to do is start to lead the conversation up. You start to need to visualize what the future could be. What does your future contribution to the company look like? How could you help take on more responsibility than your current role actually requires? And this may look like a combination of your current role plus another role, and that role may not exist. And so practically speaking, let's use an example. If you're a software engineer, for example, you may be writing code and practicing and working in that area, and that's your job. But there might be some project management stuff that's really needing some attention. And instead of your employer having to go find a PM and do some of this, you might step up and say, hey, I could be a software engineer plus help with some project management. And that kind of hybrid role, a role that doesn't exist at this moment, could be something you start to step into and of which would deserve more income. The third thing you must do is think about the numbers. You don't want to go in and ask for just a ridiculous amount of money. You want to come in informed by data. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. There's things like Glassdoor.com, Payscale.com. You can start to search for your specific career and your role and see what this is the market, rate for that type of work. Now, it's really important to know that your employer is probably looking at this data too. If you're underpaid, they probably know this. But don't go so far in the other direction where you're grabbing project manager salaries from Fortune 500 companies out in San Francisco. That's not the same as a small 20-person company in Florida, for example. And so it's really important that you're realistic with the market data. Otherwise, you come across looking a little silly, in my opinion. And staying here on the salary data for a moment, if we think about what your salary for your current role might be, you can also think back to that hybrid kind of concept of maybe you have primary duty and a secondary duty. That secondary role, maybe you look at salary data for that. And now you can almost do this math of saying, hey, I think I deserve a raise in what I'm currently doing. And I'm going to take on all this extra responsibility. And so if you had to go hire that person, that would be a significant cost. I'm willing to do both for this cost. And so what that is kind of positioning you to say is, I'm going to take on a couple different areas of ownership here, and it's going to save the company money because it's not two salaries, it's one higher salary for me with all the knowledge and buy-in that I have at the company already. You have to remember, recruiting is hard. It doesn't mean that everybody that someone brings onto the team is going to work out. And there can be a significant cost in getting new people in, interviewing them, onboarding them, training them, only for them to not work out. Having you step up, take on more responsibility is worth the extra cost if you can make a compelling case about that. Okay, and so last up would be practice your pitch. So it's really important that you sit down with a friend or a colleague and you start to talk through how you're going to approach your boss and ask for more money. You don't want to go in there and it be the first time you've actually rehearsed what you're going to say. You need to be prepared to make your case. You need to be prepared to speak about what life will be like for your boss if they invest more in you. You need to communicate the value and the reason why this investment will have a return for them. You should also communicate that you are loyal to the company. That's the reason you're bringing this to the table, as proactively looking at ways you can help and contribute. That contribution deserves more compensation, and you have looked at data that's fair and reasonable for the requests that you're making. You also want to know that there's a chance that your employer says, hey, I can't give you more money. You need to be prepared for a no. And you also need to have already thought through what you're going to do if they do say no. Is it going to make you not want to stick around having that rejection? You need to think through how you're going to react if that is the case. My advice would be, if you get a no, ask for when that could be a yes. Is that in the roadmap for you? If the employer simply says, hey, I can't pay more than this is the rate we pay people in your position, well, there's your answer. You now know you can either stay in that role or you can move on and ideally find more money elsewhere. But at least you went through the exercise and it works. Okay, hey, I hope this video was helpful. If you have asked for a raise from your boss recently, let me know in the comments. Let me know how it goes. It's really cool to see other people sharing the amount of money they were able to generate for their family just by asking. So leave a comment if that is you. I'd love to know. And we will be back here soon with another Joshua Talks Money video. I'll see you then.